Hi, folks. Hope you are okay. Love to everybody out there. I watched the carol service of Tommy Robinson today in London, and I was very, very moved. I thought it was quite amazing. And I'm just going to play a little bit of Dan Woodward, see what he has to say, and then come.
Look. Shit mob! Yeah. Well, this is the first year we're going to organise it within 4 weeks, unite the kingdom, put the Christ back into Christmas. Let's start focusing on our days. It's the first year. Wait till next year, the year after. We're going to do it every year. People will end up travelling from around the globe to our Christmas event. Guaranteed. Yeah? This is the first year. Please come along. It's not a protest. It's not against anything. It's literally a celebration of Christ, a celebration of Christmas, a celebration of Christianity.
Against that. And we're going to leak the fact that we're marketing and challenging that patriotism. We're going to leak it to the hard left Guardian newspaper. That is exactly what the Church of England, King Charles's Church of England, did over the weekend. Here's the reportage from the Guardian. The Church of England is to launch a poster campaign aimed at challenging the anti-migrant message of Tommy Robinson, whose Unite the Kingdom movement has urged its supporters to join a carols event next weekend to put the Christ back into Christmas. The posters, which will go on display at bus stops, say Christ has always been in Christmas and outsiders welcome. They will also be available for local churches to download and display over the festive period. The Church of England's decision to challenge Robinson's extreme right-wing stance comes amid growing unease among church leaders about the rise of Christian nationalism and the appropriation of Christian symbols to bolster the views of his supporters. At a march organised by Unite the Kingdom in September, there was a significant presence of Christian symbols, including wooden crosses and flags bearing Christian slogans, as well as chants of Christ as King and calls to defend God, faith, family, homeland. I thought that'd be celebrating this. What's going on here? Robinson announced next weekend's carol event at an
They've got money for posters, the Church of England. I'd say they'd be good to put that money into safeguarding, because we know the abuse runs deep in the Church of England. And that's not me being a conspiracy theorist. That's
the easiest way to look younger. Now, one doctor says that's nothing but
the religions. We're not saying you can't, but when we are in a position where the head of the Church of England and their church, that church is bullying patriots who, let's break this down. Patriots want a little candle and to sing little.
So there we are, the carol service of Tommy Robinson today. And there's all this controversy, and I want to just show you this, a little bit of this. And give you my thoughts on it, which was quite incredible, really. Excuse me, I've got an itchy nose. Just let me rub my nose a minute. Right, we're okay. So here we are. So here it is. So this is, I've watched this twice today, and both times I was crying. So here we are. So this is the carol service in London, outside Parliament, and House.
Yep, 2.
That's how it started. Look at the people there that are coming to the carol service.
And everlasting God, today we stand beneath this victorious banner of Jesus Christ, the child.
Now,
Almighty God.
I'm not ecumenical, but this was ecumenical. But there were some people on this platform that did preach the gospel clear as day.
And Father, please open our hearts to
coma on a Sunday.
There were nights where I sat there and I asked God, why am I here? And
Be brief. Isn't this the best carol service?
Without our great foundation.
This is the light of the world. And that.
So the gospel was preached clearly. Yeah, there was a couple of guys on there that preached the gospel clearly. It was an ecumenical soup. There's some guys on there that I would not agree with their theology at all. But Christ was lifted up. Christ was center, and the gospel was clearly preached, absolutely clearly preached. There's a couple of guys there that really, really preached the wrath of God and the need to repent and believe on the Lord Jesus Christ. There's a bit of ecumenical soup. There was some guys on there that are all over the place. Yeah, like Bob. Bob's all over the place theologically. Little Bob's all over the place theologically. There's others on there that were all over the place theologically, but there were some on there that did preach the gospel absolutely clear, and Christ was lifted up. And it was a very moving service in many, many ways. So I'm not agreeing with the ecumenical stuff, but and I watched the service twice, and there was tears in my eyes because I thought to myself, the gospel's clearly preached here by some people, and many, many people will hear the gospel. Now, the thing is Tommy is absolutely sincere. I don't think he fully understands Christianity or even the gospel at the moment, but he's getting there. He is searching. He is wanting to follow the Bible and Christ, but he doesn't really understand it at the moment. So that's where it's at, right? But it's sincere. It was a sincere. It came with sincerity. It's reaching the working class, and so I just want to say the Church of England attacking Tommy, it's a cheek, because the service, the carol service, was not political. You had black people on there, so how, it was for everybody. So it was not political. It was not having an agenda for politics. It was Christ was lifted up. It was Christ in everything that was said. It was all about Christ. All right. It was not political. So for the Church of England to bring in politics, wanting to put the posters around to counteract Tommy Robinson, is absolute nonsense. Yeah, I mean, it could be cultural Christianity, but I think the gospel was so clearly preached. It was so clearly preached in the carol service that there's a strong possibility it might be more than just a revival of cultural Christianity, that there could be some spiritual good come out of it, because the gospel was clearly preached. Not since the days of Billy Graham has the nation been reached for the gospel as it did today. If you go and watch it, there are some people in this service that absolutely preach the clear gospel, clear as day. So I want to just say that the Church of England has a cheek to attack Tommy Robinson. At least he is wanting to nail his colours to the mast and nail it to Christ. At least he wanted to lift up Christ in the carol service rather than lift up politics like the Church of England just recently done, attacking him. And the King of England, he stands up more for other religions than he does for Christianity. He doesn't stand up for Christ. He doesn't preach Christ. He doesn't teach Christ. But he's very happy to go to temples and Hindu and Muslim temples. Like I said, the Church of England is in conjunction with this awful government. So, yeah, so my thoughts are that there could be a revival of Christianity next year, and I think that it could be deeper than just cultural. It could go even deeper than cultural. The ecumenicalism issue is an issue, but there are some people in there that are preaching the gospel. And let's just hope that they win through. Bob's all over the place theologically. Little Bob is all over the place theologically, but they are talking about and lifting Christ. I'll give them that. So that's it, really. My encouragement to anybody out there is to read your Bible. I'll show you a few resources to go to. So I would go to verses 5 and 6 in the first chapter of the book of the prophet Isaiah. Dr. Martin Lloyd Jones. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot even unto the head there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Now let us be clear about the connection here. Let me start reading at verse 2. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord hath spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know. My people doth not consider. Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the... So that's Dr. Martin Lloyd Jones. So if you're a patriot out there, go and listen to Lloyd Jones and learn about the Christian faith from Dr. Martin Lloyd Jones. And then another one that you can learn from is here. Just give me a second, folks. Sorry about this. I need to get... Another person you can learn from is this person. Can anybody guess who I'm going to bring up next? Francis A. Schaeffer. Google his messages, Francis A. Schaeffer or Bach. This is a documentary that he did, like 4 hours, and it's really can find something else. But you can get his audio messages at Labrie Fellowship. What's happened here? So, can you hear this? See, I hear it. Why?
Whether anyone would think so or not. And then, secondly,
What's going on? Have I been hijacked by the government or something? That's bad. That's right. We've got something here. Right, we got this one. Yeah. Francis Schaeffer. Get his books. If you're a patriot, get his books.
Schaeffer, a missionary to American intellectuals. He and his wife, Edith, founded Labrie Fellowship in Switzerland to help searching students and adults find answers to life's basic philosophical problems. Dr. Schaeffer graduated in 1935 at the top of his class from Hampton-Sydney College, just about 50 miles from right here. In 1968, when he spoke at Harvard University, Christian students there advertised his appearance by saying this, and I want to read it carefully. I don't know how it could be articulated more correctly. Dr. Francis Schaeffer, philosopher, critic, theologian, organizer of a community in Switzerland where scholars and students gather to analyze and discuss topics of major contemporary importance. Frequent lecturer at major universities of Europe and Britain. His field is the analysis of contemporary thought and culture from a specifically Christian viewpoint, but directed beyond the Christian community.
So, patriots, Google Dr. Francis A. Schaeffer, get his books, read them, and go and listen to his lectures. Just Google Dr. Francis A. Schaeffer, audio. You can listen to him on Labrie Fellowship. He's dead now, but you can listen to his Labrie Fellowship lectures on philosophy, on the Bible, and they really, really help you to understand Christianity.
He is concerned about the world in which we live and is sensitive to the despair which blights our achievements. He argues that only historic Christianity, rightly understood and fearlessly applied, can solve the dilemma of modern man. His answers may not be the ones modern man expects or even welcomes, but clearly they cannot be ignored. End of quote. What a delight to have Dr. Francis Schaeffer here today. And as Dr. Schaeffer comes, David Randall, I'd like for us all to stand and sing happy birthday to Dr. Schaeffer, with 4,000 people participating here and a few million out there watching by television. He just might hear you if you sing loudly enough. 70 years old yesterday. From the Swiss Alps, Dr. Schaeffer. You may be seated. Dr. Schaeffer, I notice you're wearing a solidarity button here on your lapel. I think everybody be interested in knowing.
Lives, really, just 2 days before the crackdown. This dear girl that Edith and I and the Labrie people love very, very much sent me this solidarity pin from Poland. It's a real Polish solidarity pin. I have a longing, and I hope I can wear it everywhere I go until I can send it back to her and she can wear it freely again. That's my longing. When the apostles stood before the Sanhedrin and they were commanded to stop speaking that which was disturbing the situation in the culture of that particular time, they had one single sentence to answer. We must obey God rather than man. That's my text for this morning. Christians in the last 80 years or so have seen things in bits and pieces instead of seeing the things which are gradually troubling Christians and other people of goodwill, such as over-permissiveness, pornography, the public schools, the breakdown in the family, abortions, and the killing of newborn children. They've seen these in bits and pieces instead of understanding that they're only the natural outcome, the inevitable outcome of the change from a Christian viewpoint to a humanistic one. That is, instead of the final reality, the base of all reality, being a personal, infinite God who is the creator of all else. Instead of that, now the dominant worldview is that the final reality is only material energy shaped by pure chance into its present form. This change explains everything that is troubling our culture. The word humanism, as it should be used, and as the Enlightenment used it, where the word came forth like an explosion, the French Enlightenment, the word humanism means that man is the center of all things and the measure of all things. We're not talking about the humanities and all these things that we as Christians should have a great interest in because they are the product of human creativity, and that comes because they're made in the image of God, who is the great creator. So we're not talking about the humanities. We're talking about humanism as is properly described. Humanism means that man is the center of all things and the measure of all things. Now, this means that he has no knowledge and will accept no knowledge, except what people can find out for themselves, even though they're finite and limited. And that is, there is no revelation from God. It also means that the only values that exist and the only basis for law is what people decide is the case at the given moment. It makes everything relative. This is the real reason for the breakdown in morals, values, and the reason law is now only arbitrarily decided by a few people on what they think is good for society at that given moment. The whole basis of law has shifted. Law is today only that which a few people decide is for the good of society at the given moment, and it can be changed. The worldview of the final reality being only material or energy shaped by pure chance, inevitably, that's the word I want you to get. It's the operative word. Inevitably, with mathematical certainty, inevitably brings forth the results which our country and our society, which is the breakdown and the sorrow which we now face. This view cannot bring forth any other view, just intrinsically in saying that the final reality is only material energy shaped by pure chance, and this final reality is absolutely silent about any meaning to life, any value to life, or any basis for law. Consequently, its results are absolutely inevitable in the direction of which I have spoken. It brought forth the breakdown and the sorrows which our society and our country faces. It should be noted that this new dominant worldview is the very opposite to that which the founding fathers of this country held. You should understand it's the very opposite to the base upon the base that the founding fathers held. Now, this doesn't mean that they were all personally Christian. Some of them, unhappily, were not. But that, nevertheless, does not change the fact that they founded the country on the base that there is a God who is the creator, and that God gave the inalienable rights. Don't you understand the term inalienable rights is absolute folly if there isn't somebody there to give you the rights? If the state gives you the rights, they're not inalienable. They can take them away. No, the founding fathers founded this country on a simple base, a solid base, even the ones that were not personally Christian, and that is there is a God who is the creator of all else, and he gives the inalienable rights. And that which was upon our country was built, and which gave us the freedoms which we have and everyone has, including the people who are now destroying the culture and the country. It was that base that gave the form, freedom, balance, and the balance in government that gave us the freedoms which we today have. The new worldview, final reality, being only material energy, which has existed forever in some form. I've now added a note to what they hold. This form, this material or energy has existed in some form forever. Never could have brought forth the freedoms which we now have. It's mathematically certain and inevitable that you cannot have the freedoms if it only rests upon the arbitrary choice of a few people at a given time. There is no way in that setting to have freedom without the freedom beating the society to pieces because it has nothing to contain it. With a Christian consensus, the freedom is contained. Without the Christian consensus, the very freedoms would beat the country to pieces just as they now are, that the thing has shifted. Though now we're losing that freedom, as this new worldview becomes increasingly dominant and has taken over totally the public schools, the public television, paid for by tax money, as this worldview has taken over these things, paid for by tax money, and most of all, as this worldview has now taken over the courts in this country. And as this worldview has taken these things over, you can be sure that it is inevitable that the freedoms which we have enjoyed, which was built on the totally other base, will be diminished, and if we're not careful, totally lost. I want you to listen with care to the next sentence. Especially the government and especially the courts have become the vehicle to force this anti-God, anti-religious view on the total population. The courts holding this view, law based on this view, is forcing, this view is the vehicle for forcing this view on the total population. For example, the abortion ruling of the Supreme Court annulled the abortion laws in all 50 states. And they made this form of the killing of human life not only lawful, but for many people, they also made it ethical as well. This country's changed tremendously in its view toward human life since that arbitrary, medically and legally, abortion ruling went into effect. Along with this is the fact that the courts are increasingly making arbitrary law, cut loose not only from God's law, but cut loose from a strict meaning of the Constitution. And this diminishes the legislature's powers. So the powers are shifting. The pro-abortion people, so on, use the courts rather than the legislatures because the courts are not subject to the people's will and the people's desire through election and especially through re-election. Consequently, they have deliberately used the courts rather than the legislatures, which are open to the will of the people and the desires of the people. The result is a relativistic value system and a lack of any final meaning to life, and a system of law that is not only arbitrary, but which forces the materialistic, humanistic view of final reality on the total population, and especially on the children and the older people in the public schools. It's been deliberate, it is clever, and the courts have forced this on those studying in the public schools. And that's true from the lowest grades right up through university. Now, this view is forced on the youngsters in the public schools, regardless of what the parents and those who pay the taxes to keep the schools going desire. Even though it may be the overwhelming viewpoint of the parents and those who are, and the people, but the parents who pay the taxes to keep the schools going, that doesn't matter. The courts force an absolutely contrary view upon them with absolutely tyrannical force. I use the word tyrannical with great care. The January 18th Time magazine says a national poll shows that 76% of the people want both creation and evolution taught. 76% throughout the country, if the poll is accurate. But the courts don't seem to care what the people want. In spite of 76%, think what any man who got elected by 76% would feel that he had in the way of a mandate. But the courts don't care. The courts force this other view with absolute authoritarian force on everybody who goes into the public schools today. And at the same time, we're facing on the same base a medical profession, which now asks in many cases, not how can we save this life, but should it be saved? A total flip over from what the medical profession held as recently as 30 or 40 years ago. Now, this is not only true before birth and abortion, but it's true after birth in the thousands of babies that are being allowed to starve to death or killed in other ways after they're born because they don't come up to somebody's arbitrary concept of some quality of life. The medical profession is completely flipped over. Human life now the question is asked, should we save it? Even after the baby is born, if it doesn't come up to someone's concept of a certain level of quality of life. And it's boiling over into the question of what can we do to help the old people commit suicide. England is further ahead, unhappily, in this than we are. What can we do to help the old people commit suicide? What we can do to help them get off quickly so they'll not be a social and economic embarrassment. All this flows along as night follows the day. The January 11 Newsweek has an article about the baby in the womb, entitled, the baby now in the womb, entitled, but is it a person? Is it a person? The baby in the womb? Its conclusion is the problem is not determining when actual human life begins, but when the value of that life begins to outweigh other considerations such as the health or even the happiness of the mother. They had 5 pages before that proving that the baby in the womb is human life. But then they say the question is not that anymore, but now simply when does the happiness or something else of the mother outweigh the fact that this is human life? In other words, they acknowledge the baby is human life, but there's still an open question as to whether it is not right to kill that human life if it makes the mother unhappy. Are you following? Do you understand what you're listening to? Basically, this is no different from Hitler's, Stalin, and Mao's killing human life because they thought that life that they were killing was for the good, the happiness of society. The boundary is gone. The boundary is gone. Once it is acknowledged that it is human life that is involved, and this issue of Newsweek shows that there is no question that this is the case. Once it is acknowledged that this is human life that is involved, the acceptance of the death of human life in babies born and unborn opens the door to the arbitrary taking of any human life. It's somebody's arbitrary choice. It was this view that opened the door to all the murders of Hitler's Germany and in communist countries. If I were a member of a minority, if I were a member of a minority group, I would be fearful. If I were a member of a minority group in this country, I, not 10 years from now, right now, would begin to be fearful. And with the door open, Christians should be recognizing the danger. Christians should be recognizing a danger. And I cannot understand why even the humanist lawyers of the American Civil Liberties Union are not afraid. Once the door is open, everything is open to chance, or open to choice, arbitrary choice by someone. I fear both they, and too often the Christians, do not just have relativistic values, but we're just plain stupid in the light of the teaching of history. That's what bothers me at this given moment. We cannot be surprised that the liberal theologians come down on the side of the secular humanists and on almost every issue. They do. They come down on the side of the secular humanists at almost every issue. We cannot be surprised by that because liberal theology is only humanism using Christian theological terms rather than secular terms. Grind that into your thinking and never forget it. It's an important factor in the whole struggle in our country at this particular time. Liberal theology is only humanism using religious terms rather than secular terms. So we shouldn't be surprised when they come down in almost every case, and they are on the side of the secular humanists. But that is not our problem. But where have the Christians been? Where have the Bible-believing Christians been? In this country 80 years ago, none of this other side had any power. Up to 40 years, none of the great traumatic things that occurred. Where have the Bible-believing Christians been in the last 40 years? As we've moved from a Christian consensus in this country to the horrors and the stupidity of the present moment in this country, where have the Bible-believing Christians and the Bible-believing leadership been? This country has come close to being lost. Not first of all because of a humanist conspiracy, although there is a humanist conspiracy. But that's not the chief reason this country is being lost, but because the Bible-believing Christians, all often for their own comfort, or so as not to rock the boat concerning their own projects, have been silent as Christians. That's the only reason there's any trouble in of this nature, this total nature in our country today. There is no other reason. If the Christians of this country had even spoken up to the level in which they're speaking today, 40 years ago, we wouldn't have been in the difficulties we're in. Where have the Christian leaders been? Where have the Christian lawyers been? This law has changed. Where have the Christian doctors been? Where have the Christian business people been? And all the rest, as the change has taken place. This is our problem, something to pray about, something to think about, and say, God, if you'll give us some more time, we're going to do something about it. This country was founded on a Christian base, with all its freedoms for everyone. And now it is largely lost. We're a long, long way down the road. I was saying to Jerry last night, I don't think even he and I know how far we're down the road. We're a long, long way down the road. We live in a humanist society, and we're rapidly moving to a totally humanistic society. For example, by law, our public schools are now secularized and shut to all religious teaching except the humanist religious teaching, and influence as completely as the Socialist Union shuts its schools. I don't know if you realize that, but Christianity is completely shut out of and all religions, shut out of the public schools in this country as completely as it is in Soviet Union. Marxism isn't taught, but as far as secularization goes, it's just as complete. Congress opens with prayer, because it's always open with prayer, because the founding fathers opened Congress with prayer from the very beginning, acknowledging God as the creator. And yet the public schools and the children cannot pray. Congress prays out of a memory of the past, but our children cannot pray in the public schools. I will repeat, we're not only immoral, we're stupid. This, and I use the word now again with tremendous force, linking it back into the Reformation and all that is involved, the writing of Samuel Rutherford and everything. This is tyranny, and it must be called nothing less than tyranny. It's tyranny. And the founding fathers acted to defeat such tyranny in their day. And Christians and others who love liberty and human life should be acting in the same way as they acted in our day. If we do not act now to use every means and get rid of such tyranny, and then the next part of the sentence, and the hidden censorship we face on every side, the hidden censorship we face on every side, and in the Christian Manifesto I go into some of the details, and the hidden censorship we face on every side, I do not think we're going to get another opportunity. I think it's now or never for the Christian people and anybody of goodwill, but especially the Christian people in this country. In the present so-called conservative swing in the last election, we have an opportunity. But let us never forget this. A conservative humanism is no better than a liberal humanism. And we must use every means available to us to use the open door, to roll back the awful and inevitable results brought forth by the other worldview of final reality.
So that's Francis Schaeffer. If you're a patriot, get his books, listen to his lectures at L'Abri Fellowship, and it'll really help you. It'll really encourage you and give you a Christian basis for your life and for whatever you're doing in life, whether you're a teacher, a doctor, a philosopher, a policeman, a policewoman, whether you're in politics, whatever. If you study Francis Schaeffer, you'll get a good grounding in Christianity and a basis for public life. And these are the books that you can get. Let's show you the books you can get. So you've got this book. Thank you, NL. So you got this book here. Just put that on there. Escape from Reason by Francis A. Schaeffer. It tracks the history of the West and how it relates to Christianity. Very, very good book. There's another book here. True Spirituality. Looks at basic Christianity. Yeah, so that's another book there. What else? You got this one here. Got this one, The Mark of the Christian by Francis Schaeffer. I'll put here in here, see what we get. See what else we get. You got the complete works of Francis Schaeffer. So much good stuff in the complete works of Francis Schaeffer. Really, really good book to get set of books to get hold of to invest in. The Finished Work of Christ by Francis Schaeffer is a great book on the gospel. What else is there? Christian Manifesto by Francis Schaeffer. Get hold of that, you're going to be blessed. And How Should We Then Live is a great book on the history of the West. And that's a great book to get hold of. So great books there for you to get hold of there, Francis Schaeffer, yeah? Yeah, I just had to go and speak to my wife. I was on the phone to my wife. That's why I disappeared for a few minutes. So that's it. So if anybody wants to come on, I'll let you come on for a minute. Maybe someone wants to come on. Want to come on, you can come on for a minute. But I'm going to go in a few minutes soon. So so the link's there, and it's in the private chat if anyone wants to come on. So yeah, so Lloyd Jones, Francis Schaeffer. That's how I started in the Christian life, and I hope it helps you to start off in your Christian life. Yeah, that's it really. Nothing else to report. Go and watch the carol service. It was very moving. And there's nothing else. There's nothing else to look at. Well, I think I've done a lot of podcasts this week for you to enjoy. Hen, God bless you, bro. Nice to see you. Great encouragement. Thanks, Nine. You're great encouragement. I've done a lot of podcasts. What podcast have I done? I'll just tell you the podcast that I've done over the last few days. Some highlights that I think if you haven't watched that you can go and watch. We've done 2 studies so far on 1 John. Those have been a highlight for me over the last week and over the last 2 weeks. So I would encourage anybody, if you've not had an opportunity, to go and study the 2 done so far on 1 John. I think they've been a blessing. So they've been a great highlight. So yeah, you've got here. Can you get us one?
Yeah,
so there's been a great blessing to me doing those. I want to thank Lewis and Jesse for getting those going. So yeah, so have a look at those. Those are really encouraging, those videos. There's 2 so far. I'm going to let Lewis do the next one if he comes with Jesse. I trained him a few months ago, and I don't know where I'll be. I might be in Acapulco. I might, you know, God, me and my wife, we're being guided to go somewhere. Sad to see Britain turning more anti-Christian daily back in the 90s till even in Asia, why is anything British was considered a conservative? Yeah. True, bro. So yeah, Lewis, I think we'll be doing the next one. But they're good studies. I encourage you to go and look at the 1 John studies that we've done. I think they'll be really a blessing to you. What else has been done? I've done a number of videos on Kirk Cameron and the doctrine of hell recently, but I have also done in the past videos. Let's just see. I'll just show you what's available. So 11 years ago, me and a theology friend, who's a friend of mine, Mark, 11 years ago, we did the doctrine of hell. So you can watch that. Hi, folks. This is
Azakov, the manager of the project to drill 14.4 kilometers hole. That's not a problem for me because it could be even worse than the descriptions.
Yeah.
In there, you know, Jewish rabbis used a system called hyperbole.
So that's the link to that.
When they want to emphasize something.
Yeah. In the
In a
private
strong way, they would use that.
Yeah. To this video.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
So this is a video we did 11 years ago on hell. And then 8 years ago, I did a number of videos on hell and annihilationism. So here. And I just feel that we need to be aware of that and we need to look into it. So without further ado, my website's jasonburnspreacher.com. That was years ago. I don't have that website anymore. Website, there's loads of good material. Lord, in your name and for your glory. May your on the simplicity of the gospel. So I do a whole series 8 years ago on annihilationism, and you can go and watch them videos. But I mean, I go a lot into the scholarship, into annihilationism, and critique it, you know. So the link's there, and you can get it in. I put it in the chat as well. What else is there? What else is it? So yeah, so I did quite a few videos on the doctrine of hell. And I've done, yeah, I've done quite a lot of videos on hell. Yeah, so I've done quite a lot of lectures and talks on the doctrine of hell. Loads of stuff. that you can get on there. So what else? But what have I done recently? You can look at the 3-hour talk discussion with Patrick on the preservation of the Quran. That was a good time. And the European Apologetics Forum, Worldview Analysis, Apologetics Training, the Speaker's Corner Review, Cooking Dinner with J-Bo is funny video. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff there that you can go back on. Encourage you to go back and watch the stuff. It'll be a help to you. So okay, I'm going to go. God bless you. I hope what you've had in this video will encourage you to get deeper in Christianity. And love to everybody. Thank you, Han, Nine, Gareth, NLNC, Teddy, and anybody else who's come and watched this video. Love to you all, and have a good Sunday. God bless you all. Yeah, okay, Nine. But if you type in Jason Burns lectures on hell, I've done tons of videos years ago on annihilationism, going much deeper and talking with Mark, who was a theology student with me when I was younger. If people want to go into the scholarship of annihilationism really deep, I go into like really deep exegesis. I did that 8 years ago, 10 years ago, so people can look at that. All right, guys. So just go on this channel and Google in this channel hell, and a load of videos will come up. All right. God bless you and take care. That's if you want to go deeper into the scholarship. I mean, really deep. I go really deep into the scholarship of it, critiquing it. All right. Take care and God bless you all, and love to everybody. Bye now.